Hello, and what? It's been a while. I haven't recorded or really found the willingness to record in a while. And if you've seen community posts that I've made, I actually had an injured wrist, and it was not fun. Not having your dominant hand for literally 2-3 weeks kind of sucks, believe it or not. But we're back. And believe it or not, this is probably the last time, at least for a while, that we're gonna see this specific world. Just because I'm gonna head up there, but I'm basically done with this world. I just want to do some refinements on a couple different areas. And then I'd say for the terrain, I'm ready to move on to the next version. So for the beginning of this video, I'm just going to show off whatever I've done. And then we're going to move on to the next world, which is very exciting because I've been on this world for literally 2-3 weeks. Maybe more. I don't know. If we come out of here, we have a whole mountain range over there. I think at the end of my video, I mentioned that I wanted one. And I built it. There's a couple specific areas behind there that I want to show off. But the first thing that I want to show off is this. This isn't a big or fancy build by any means, but this originally was a 16 by 16 just cobblestone cube, because I wanted the only block that I can place just to have a giant cube variant in the area, but it ended up looking hideous and it blocked the view of the mountain from the entrance there, so I just ended up removing it. You have a few houses here, you have a little faux tree, and it's all just kind of contained in this little fenced off area. Nothing special, but it's there. I was thinking of adding a secret room to one of these, but I think I'll do that at a later date. But if we head over here now, we can get a better view of the mountain range here. Some areas still look a little wonky, and like I said, I want to do some final refinements on it. But I've never built a mountain before, or anything like this, so this was definitely interesting to figure out how to do. You have this giant kind of stone area over here, but it has this little path that leads up into this cave. The inside of this is pretty much empty, but again, for a future date. Oh, what is this? Hold on, I gotta repair this. There we go. But outside of that, I think the only other build that I've done so far is the Stonehenge thing that we built last episode. Other than that, I've just kind of terraformed over the top of this entire world, and basically all the cave entrances are either patched up or just smoothed out so this terrain looks a little bit more natural. And I will say that I'm quite proud of it. I think it has some interesting areas. I could probably later down the line fill some of this with water. Oh wait, I forgot about over here. Because I was going to say I was going to fill some of them with water, some of them with lava. But if we head back into this little crack in the cave here, you have this kind of back area, and I think around here, and I want it just to be flowing throughout this, I just want lava, just because I think it'll look cool. You have this staircase that I just placed here just so I could get up, but I might keep it. I think it offers an interesting idea when you're exploring the world that this was more human made than it seems, where there is this mountain, but then you have this refined staircase, so obviously there had to have been people here building stuff, because I haven't written any lore yet, at least officially, but I want kind of I guess my character to be the one discovering all of this per se, instead of finding it. But I don't really know when my character should lore wise come into the picture or exist, or form or anything like that. So I don't know. We'll figure that out as well at a later date. I'm basically doing the equivalent of like, this is for the closers on all of this. But I think we're going to take one last look at the Stonehenge kind of build that we have here, and then we'll move on basically. The entire area around it is pretty much terraformed or just like grassed over. And then here it is. I still really like this. Admittedly, I've been playing with like a texture pack in this version, so like I just have the modern textures backported. And actually, there's like a texture pack basically called Backport Everything, where their whole like shtick is they're taking all the modern textures and backporting it to like the older ones, but with like, you know, color map support, you know, custom models for like, you know, the modern mobs and whatnot. And I find that cool because like when the or I find it, I guess, funny slash ironic because I remember when the like new textures were coming out, everyone was making like old programmer art texture packs and trying to make like everything look like the old textures, and now it's kind of come into reverse somehow. But admittedly, might be a hot take. As much as I love the old textures, and I love this cobblestone texture for like no reason, this is quite bright, and sometimes I feel like it strains my eyes. So, just to show it comparatively, with the texture pack that changes it to the modern textures, it's just a lot, I guess, darker or a lot easier on the eyes. So I've loaded up the resource pack or texture pack jar mod. I don't know. In this version, you have to literally like extract the jar, replace the textures in like the actual like terrain.png, and then basically just compress it again and just rename it to a jar. As you can see, a lot easier on the eyes. Cobblestone isn't as like contrasted, and it's in fact stone now. So, it's pretty much what I've been building on for the past like couple weeks whenever I've had like the opportunity. And honestly, I really like it. I'm mixed on the newer textures just because I like nostalgia. I like the old textures, but you know, this is also nice. And we are here. So I'd say arguably less featured than the last world we were working on. But we are in PC 132011. I've been just like memorizing it because honestly, I'm just bad at writing down notes and just like having them set out for me. So that's probably the right one. You saw it in the title card. Yeah. But yeah, this is the stereotypical world that you'd see on, you know, a lot of the poly worlds on YouTube. Um, or like the first version available in I think the default Minecraft launcher and whatnot. 256 by 256, just one layer of grass and then cobblestone. We're still not able to place things specifically just yet, but that will be coming soon. So I am quite excited for that. This brings up the question of like, what do we start with on this one? Because we have arguably much less to go off of at this point. So it looks like this version came out on May 13th, 2009, and we actually have some of the first like quote unquote like discontinued features. We have like no cave generation, we have a missing bedrock floor, so if I can get closer to the edge here, if I jump off, we have like no bedrock at the bottom of this. So if we upgrade this world to like release 1.0 or when they actually added like a bedrock layer at the bottom, I think it will be missing. So we basically have free access to the void down there for pretty much all of these worlds, which is exciting. And I think actually, if I remember reading correctly, if you upgrade from like release to past caves and cliffs, and there's still void down there, it will basically just fill it in with like new caves from what I remember. Outside of that, we also have what's called classic level creation fields, where basically in the level.dat file, it sets some things as like a preset like name. So the creator name, since there isn't really any like internet connection or any like account page, it basically sets like the world creator to no name or just like two dashes or just a blank, input. Um, but honestly, it's only observable in like a file format. So it means very little to the actual world. And plus, once you upgrade it past like, I think like an early classic version, it all goes away. So all of these I don't really have to actively go for, or they just, are not observable. If I feel like it, I could probably show it off. Um, just because, why not? But yeah, that's what we have for this one. Basically everything that came in the versions beforehand or in the recreations beforehand. And now, we can play stuff. We have cobblestone. We can break stuff. Uh, Apparently blocks generate up until Y43, and as for the last world, grass only generates on this level specifically, so I can't really like choose where I want cobblestone to be, or grass. And yeah, it's interesting that like caves no longer generate. I wonder what like the design choice was. Maybe they were trying to test some other things out and just like needed a flatter like terrain just for like processing power. Because I also find it interesting that back then, like, computers were just like objectively weaker. So, what's it called? Even in like these versions, or in like the world that I was playing last episode, all of them like kind of ran like shit because they were either unoptimized or hardware just wasn't up to par with what it is now. So while I could play this at like probably like 2 bajillion FPS, like hardware back then just really wasn't it. It wasn't able to do much, and I find that fascinating. I also still haven't figured out what to build on here. um I've seen a lot of people when they build like dig into the ground, which might be interesting for like a common area or something like that. Ooh, you know what? Since I wanted it in my last world, I think I'm gonna build a giant cobblestone cube. Since the Minecraft textures are 16 by 16, I think I'm gonna build this to be a 16 by 16 by 16 block. And here's the outline for our block. Yeah, I'm just gonna basically fill this in, and then I'll start building up the walls for it. As our first build, I think I'm just gonna do like a showcase of the only building block that we have on hand at the moment. And I was looking through a lot of the updates that I still have to go through, and admittedly, like, sometimes when I overthink, this series or just like the amount of updates that this game has had, it gets daunting with how many, versions we have to go through before we even get close to even just baseline release of the game. And there's times where I crave like running around in like a default survival world, so it makes it hard, man, because like all I have is one block here. There's only so much that I could do. I'm not the most creative person. I'm going insane. That's six. This feels tall. This feels huge. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, that is 16. Okay. I'm wondering what are other like stereotypical pre-classic builds that people tend to do. I know in just classic, people tend to build that like Menger sponge or whatever, which is cool. I might add one of those just for, just for nostalgia's sake. Or not nostalgia, but just to do it, seeing that it's a common build. But yeah, I am quite excited to actually get started on a new kind of fresh flat plane. like a blank canvas almost. Because as much as I was having fun building on that, I think the limited amount of things in these versions does make it quite understimulating to play sometimes. So as like a thing I play on the side, you know, when I'm playing other games, I'll keep this open and I'll just like build it if I'm build onto it if I'm like waiting or something like that. But getting around to like actively building on these worlds, especially with like the wrist injury recently, um, it's been hard. uh, but I'm also just trying to get back into the swing of recording because I was kind of out of the loop for a while, or at least like 2 weeks. And it's not in one of those ways where like I want to be like hyper efficient with how often I record or how often I put out videos, but I am a very, I guess, momentum based person. So if I say like, you know, if I want to do a project, I basically have to stay in my momentum with that project or it's hard to kind of get started on it again. Could be, you know, could be ADHD, could be generally that like attention span is fucking shot from years of internet use, but um, yeah, it's just something that I found recently, especially as I like grow into an adult and shit gets, you know, ultimately harder. Um, I figured that like the best way to like work around a lot of things is just to work off of like my momentum, or sometimes like needing, you know, just like even if it sucks, just like a nice push just to get like hit the ground running basically. Um, because if I get out of it, I'll become complacent. I'll just sit here and just like go into like my normal habits of like, you know, playing the same few games and just like not really creating anything. And you know, I want to use this. I want to use just like generally creating stuff as a way to, you know, help with that. Um, I find art just generally an interesting thing because it is like a medium where you can make complete strangers feel emotions or feel something, or you know, like be moved in a certain way, or like, you know, see a world from a different perspective. Alrighty, um our cube is done. As you can see, it's very let's say cubey. Could be more squarer, could be more cubier, you know, but I think it's all right. I'm excited, as I said before, to get started on a new world. And again, thank you all to whoever's like showed up or started watching or continues watching. The first episode has reached like 2.5 thousand views, and like the other videos have reached like at minimum 200 each. So comparatively, like that's nuts. So thank you all for, you know, just being here, being supportive, commenting, all that stuff. It helps a lot. And yeah, I don't really have that much to say. There wasn't much to show off. I just kind of wanted to get, you know, get things swinging, get things out the door. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you later. Bye bye.